Neuroscience is not doing well, not at all. In the past months, we've seen multiple studies from independent groups showing that a large number of studies about the human brain and human behavior are just wrong. I have a brief summary, and then I want to talk about what this means and how it could happen. The most devastating recent paper comes from a group in Germany and was published in Nature Neuroscience. They looked at brain studies which rely on a measurement technique called functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI for short, and found that about 40% of these signals simply don't measure what scientists thought they measure. These scans detect changes in blood flow. Scientists assumed that more blood flow means that neurons use more oxygen and fire more. Hence, a larger fMRI signal means more brain activity. But the new study shows that in regions like the brain's default mode network, which is active during daydreaming or memory recall, neurons can become more active just by pulling more oxygen from the blood without increasing blood flow. The researchers figured that out by a study on over 40 healthy volunteers, which also used a more advanced measure for blood oxygen consumption. This means that the results of thousands of studies done in the past decades might be misleading. My default mode network brings up a story from 2009 where researchers placed a deceased Atlantic salmon in an fMRI scanner, presented it with photos of humans in social situations, and detected apparent brain activity due to statistical errors. But wait, it gets worse. Just a month later, a second paper appeared in Nature Neuroscience. The authors looked at the methodological foundations of lesion network mapping. Lesion network mapping investigates patients with brain damage who have the same symptoms. Scientists look for what the damaged places have in common, and if those places are connected to the same wider brain system, they claim that system is responsible for the symptom. But the authors of the new paper reviewed studies for more than 100 neurological and psychiatric conditions and found that many supposedly disease-specific circuits look highly similar across very different disorders. They conclude the current results suggest that a substantial proportion of the presented lesion network mapping are non-specific and may not accurately reflect genuine biological brain networks. It's a bit like finding that all broken cars have tires and concluding that tires cause engine failure, which by all chances would still get citations. Then just in April, a group reported that if you scan people's brains with scanners from different manufacturers, you get different results, and not just a little bit different, but they couldn't replicate the functional brain network map of individuals. Depends on whether you ask Siemens or Philips. These aren't even the only recent studies which flag systematic problems with neuroscience studies. There are so many of these, it's become somewhat of a subfield in its own right. So what the hell is going on? On the one hand, you can say it's a good development. It's the process of science correcting itself. On the other hand, you may ask, and indeed I think you should ask, why the hell is this happening in the first place? And more important still, why does it continue to happen? Because this isn't a new thing. As we saw, this has been going on at least since 2009, and I know that's shocking, but that was more than 15 years ago. It's important because you see the people who write these critical papers exist, which is great, but it's also clear from the numbers that most of the studies that get published in the areas ignore the known problems with the data collection, the measurement interpretation, and the analysis, and they'll continue to ignore them for as long as they can get away with it. If you find my science news interesting, please consider supporting me on Patreon or right here on YouTube. And if you already support me, especially those of you in Tier 4 and higher, thank you so much. This channel would not be possible without your help. And unlike some brain signals, your support is very easy to interpret. The problem in neuroscience is extremely similar to what's happened in psychology, where scientists have been squeezing fake results out of underpowered studies with statistical techniques that were widely known to be wrong. This continued for decades, and now every time you turn around, there is is yet another supposedly foundational psychology study that could not be replicated. Basically, the entire field of psychology has to start over again. The reason these things happen is that scientists have very strong incentives to ignore these problems so long as they can get their papers published. And scientific publishers have strong incentives to publish papers because that's what they make money from. The tragedy is that this problem isn't remotely new. It's widely known, and yet nothing changes. Which, come to think of it, is also a very good summary of my relationship with my hair. Now, look, I don't want to say all of neuroscience is bullshit, certainly not. The papers I just mentioned are in specific fields related in particular to identifying certain regions or connections in the brain that do one or the other thing, which, it's basically what neuroscience is about, isn't it? All of this makes me think it'll probably be a while until we have our brain interfaces, because it'd be nice if Siemens and Philips can agree whether you actually wanted to post that image on Twitter. Good design is art combined with science, and this pen from Novion is the perfect example of functionality with eye-catching looks. The hover pens float in their base thanks to strong permanent magnets and can freely spin. They're really well balanced. You don't need to fumble to put them in, and they don't drop out either. This particular version is the hover pen Interstellar, balanced at the same angle as the tilt of Earth's axis. It has a premium version with a meteorite embedded. Yes, a real meteorite, so there's part of your pen that actually flew through outer space. The hover pen doesn't just look good, it's also a pleasure to write with. It flows nicely across the page, and it's refillable too. A slightly different design is the hover pen Future, which has interchangeable tips, fountain and rollerball. The hover pens are high-quality products that I've been using for years, and I'm happy to recommend them. And of course, I have a special offer. You'll get 15% off in the next 72 hours and 10% after this if you use my QR code or the code Sabine. Links in the info below. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.